Greetings and salutations, travelers of the internet. Welcome to the Lit Round Table. I'm Anna.
And I'm Joseph. We'll be your wise or not so wise mentors for today's audio adventure, where we dive into all things storytelling.
Hey there.
I kind of did that different, but it's fine.
You did. It's okay. It's all right.
It's been a while since I've had to say it.
Yeah, because I've been leading a lot.
Which I appreciate.
Yeah, anytime. Well, not anytime. You're not allowed to move again for a while.
Right. And I have to lead some of them. You
Yes.
can't lead all of these.
Exactly. Very true. So how's Texas treating you?
It's hot, but that's okay.
Yes.
And buggy. It's more buggy here than Nebraska, surprisingly.
Really? I would not have guessed that.
But it's fine. It's been really good. We have found a fun little. There's a lot more like Asian markets. There's an H Mart, which is like a lot of Asian stuff that you just get in a grocery store, and there's this fun, specifically Japanese place where they have it. Like the grocery store area is smaller than H Mart, but they also have a like an anime section and a manga section in the store, as well as like a food court that has a lot of the food that we had when we were in Japan. So it's super cool. We've only been there once, but I'm excited to go back sometime. So
your wife sent me a picture of her pork cutlet bowl when you guys were there, and I was super jealous because, oh my gosh.
It's very,
so good.
Very good. So I'm excited to go back there sometime. Texas has been good. For those of you who are not keeping up with the read-along, this will be the first episode that you have had where Anna and I are recording from separate locations. So it should, there shouldn't be too big of a difference, but I am sitting in my bedroom closet because of the acoustics. Being surrounded by clothes is better than the big echoey room that I was trying to record in during the read-along that we recorded. So this should be better. To
be fair, it's a big closet.
It is a big closet, but there's a lot of clothes in here. So there's a lot of things to muffle my sound. And there's also...
I don't want people to think that you're like sitting in a little 2x2 space.
Oh, no, it's a big...
You have like leg room.
It's a big walk-in closet. I'm fine. But with that being said, we will move along because there's zero airflow in here. So...
Fair.
We'll start off with what we usually talk about. I'll let you kick us off with what are you reading, watching, playing, what you got?
Well, I have finished the My Hero Academia manga as far as has been published in volumes. There's more chapters available online that I have not read, but I'm choosing to wait until the volume comes out, and that's how I'm going to choose to read them, because I prefer reading them in paper.
That's really cool. So, so you've maybe gotten to some of the things that I've been seeing spoilers for like a lot of things. So
yes, the last couple episodes I knew were coming.
Yeah.
I knew they were going to be the emotional wrecks that they were. Yeah. But and I also finished the My Hero Academia Vigilantes spin-off series in as far as they've been published in paper. Cool. So, again, more available online that I have not read. But I have pre-ordered both of the next volumes for those two series. Yeah. So, that's been fun.
Super cool.
Really good. Highly recommend. There aren't as many volumes of the Vigilantes. I think there's only like 10 or 11.
Mm-hmm. That sounds right. I wouldn't know, but when I see them in stores, there's not a ton of those compared to the other.
I think 10. Yeah, I think 11 is coming out. But and I've also been reading Yona of the Dawn in digital, which is such a bummer.
That's the one. Oh, that's the one that you were telling me about where the anime ended, right?
Yes, and I talked about it in our last podcast, but I'm on volume 4 now, so I'm slowly reading that. I don't read it as quickly when it's digital because I don't enjoy the medium as well. Yeah, but that's okay. I also started The Last Battle with my book club kiddos, which is the final volume of the Chronicles of Narnia, And let me just say, I have a little bit more trepidation about this book club than previous clubs.
I had a feeling this one would be the most precarious to navigate.
Yeah. I think there's a reason why it's not talked about as much.
Yeah.
And not as beloved. So, which I know some people really enjoy it, but there are some concepts that I'm a little nervous about getting to. So, be thinking about me as we work through that. Let's see. What else am I reading? I am, of course, reading Dragons of Autumn Twilight. And I've been listening to a lot more music at work, so I haven't been listening to audiobooks as much. So I don't have as much to report on that front as I normally would have.
I have found that I can't really listen to audiobooks at work too much unless, well, there are some things where if I had an AirPod, I could maybe pull it off, but, or like AirPod headphones. But it's like, if I'm trying to count money, like in a safe, I can't, it's a retail job. It's not, I don't work at a bank or anything, but counting, trying to like pay attention to a story that's being read to me while also counting money is very difficult.
Yeah, and there are certain tasks at my job that it's easier to do that with than others. Like setting up a new computer, it's pretty easy to put in an audiobook in because I've done so many new computer setups that it's like almost muscle memory. But I've had a little bit more work in spreadsheets lately, and that takes a little more brain power. And I've just really enjoyed listening to music lately. I don't know. I'm just in a music kind of funk. Even when I'm doing dishes lately, I've been listening to music and not my audiobook. So I don't know. It's just one of those seasons that you go through. But yeah. And then for watching, I've been rewatching My Hero Academia because it was so emotional finishing the last manga because it ends on like a cliffhanger. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't keep reading it, but I still want to be with these characters. So I started back at the beginning. So that's been fun. And so I don't know if you know this, but Barnes & Noble has a bunch of Studio Ghibli movies available on DVD and Blu-ray right now. They're like a special release.
That's cool.
And so I bought Princess Mononoke. I'm probably saying that wrong. But I hadn't seen that one before. And it's very good. And I also bought Howl's Moving Castle, which I'm so excited about.
Ooh, we have Howl's Moving Castle.
I haven't. Do you?
Yeah.
Yay. So I am planning to watch that tonight, I think, when we're done.
Nice.
Maybe after I finish this other show that you told me to watch. So I feel like I'm stealing your thunder a little bit. But you're going to have to help me out with what it's called because I don't remember what the name of it is.
It is an anime that you can watch on Crunchyroll called To Your Eternity, which the first episode made me cry.
Yeah. So you watched the first episode and you were like, you have to watch this.
I mostly just needed someone. I needed someone to share my pain.
You said if you need a good cry, you should watch this, which I should have taken as more of a warning than I did, because it did make me cry. It has made me cry several times, but it's very good.
It's made me cry twice, and feel very sad.
I've cried more than twice.
And feel very sad other times, but one of them, like the second time, was borderline ugly crying because of what I had to watch.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's very good. It's just very emotional.
Yeah. And it's a bummer because you can't really even talk about it without giving major spoilers.
No, that's like premise, as far as we can even go, really. Other than talking about
I'm
like
just going to
generic.
say that the premise is that there is a spirit, we'll call, that's been sent to Earth, and he takes on properties of things gradually after like key moments.
In the first,
is that fair?
Yeah, the first episode is just kind of like first interactions with different things on Earth, including humans. You know, first interactions with humans, and so it's just
including moss
and rocks and wolves and snow, and yeah, there's a lot of it's a lot of like it's weird because part of it is almost like coming of age in the storytelling with like interacting with these new things. That's like its objective. And so it's just this thing, this alien thing, well, not like alien, but just like foreign, unfamiliar thing interacting with our world. And it's very interesting and very sad.
Yeah. Yeah. But like like parts of it are so heartwarming.
Yeah, super wholesome before it rips your heart out and stomps on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've been warned.
So I've been watching that too. Yes, you've been warned, but like would highly recommend.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure.
So, and then I think that is pretty much all to report on my side.
Okay. So my turn. Since my drive to work is much longer now, I have gotten to do a lot of listening to audiobooks on my way. Usually, especially if I'm closing, the drive from work to home is really easy. There's not a lot of cars when I'm closing, so that's a good time for me to listen to audiobook stuff, which I got another Audible credit. So I got The Great Hunt on Audible. So now I'm like halfway done with The Great Hunt because I've gotten to listen to the audiobook, and it's been very good. I'm really, really enjoying, like, it's funny. It's like Wheel of Time books have been one of those things where I'll kind of forget how much that I liked them, and then I'll start reading it again, and I'm like, oh yeah, these are like really good. So I've been really enjoying that for The Great Hunt. And yeah, I'm on like chapter 18 now, I think. So, that's that. Also reading Dragon's Bottom Twilight, which we're like almost halfway done with that now. We're like almost on to book 2. Once we're done with this next...
according to Goodreads, we're at 46%.
Nice. And I'm just going to take a moment to kind of lament over what I would be reading if I was able to, and that is more of the Demon Slayer manga, which is apparently like sold out everywhere. Like the publishers are out of stock. So it's pretty much what you see on the shelf until February.
Well, that's not true of all volumes, because I have a couple volumes that I ordered that should be shipping like next week, but they're early volumes. The one you're looking for, yes.
Well, because
you're looking for
those are things that are like in stock, right? But once those stocks are done, it's just like what people are buying. Like the ones that I'm in now are the things that are past the anime. So it's all the people like me who are wanting to read past where the anime was that are buying these later volumes. The one that I'm specifically looking for is 12, which was out of stock at the Japanese grocery store / manga store. And when I asked them about possibly ordering, they were like, sorry, our publisher's out of stock. I'm not sure when we're going to get more. I was like, oh, bummer. Went to Barnes & Noble. Same story there, but they at least were able to tell me when they would get more in stock. They weren't shipping until like late February. So that's... Right. And I think that's just like once... It's like a weird thing of like once they're gone, they're gone. But it's just as far as like demand, which ones are going faster, which are the ones that I'm on right now. So, right. Yeah, which is 12. But we were able to find another Amazon seller that wasn't like the main seller, like if you go to more buying options. And it was like a little more expensive, but it wasn't terrible. So I do have 12 on the way. And I already have 13. So once 12 gets here, I can scratch that itch and read a little more of Demon Slayer. So.
Good. Very good.
So that's for reading.
Happy for you.
Thank you. I'm also happy. For watching, I finished Bad Batch, which I haven't finished that yet. The first season's done now. That was good. I started watching that new Marvel What If series. I've seen the first 2. I don't know if there's a third one out. Do you know what that is? It's an animated show where they kind of go into different what if scenarios of like what if things happen differently in the Marvel movies. Like the first one is, what if Peggy Carter got the super soldier serum instead of Steve Rogers? And so she is Captain Carter instead of Captain America. So that was very interesting. The second one is like, what if instead of the Ravagers kidnapping Peter Quill to become Star-Lord, they actually kidnapped T'Challa from Wakanda. So it's very, there's some very bizarre kind of things. So yeah, it's been really interesting.
So is the intent of this show to like help them with the multiverse stuff that they've got coming out?
Maybe. I mean, they're kind of diving hard into the whole multiverse thing, especially with like the Spider-Man stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and like the next Doctor Strange movie is the Multiverse of Madness.
Well, and everything with Loki, and even the end of
WandaVision.
WandaVision had a touch of that too. Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the phase 2 of Marvel is going to be a lot of multiverse stuff, which is fine.
Interesting.
So yep, I've been watching that. My Critical Role update. I am on episode 135.
Oh, yes. Yo, you're so close.
I'm so close to being done. And
like you're like 10 episodes away or something like that.
There's only 141, so I am less than 10 away.
You're under 10.
So next time we record, I might just have polished it off. We'll see.
Well done.
I'm very excited about that because now we're kind of getting into the realm of things where I've seen some like clips of online and like TikTok and stuff. So I'm like, oh, that's when that happened. So
yeah, nice.
We already talked about To Your Eternity. Ouch.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. But that's just a big ouch. And then there's My Hero Academia as it comes out. And Attack on Titan we're still watching. And we just got halfway through season 3. So we're wrapping up the Rod Reese stuff with Historia and all that. So, and then the next part I'm super excited about. Part 2 of season 3. So much gets revealed and answered. I'm so pumped. So
I know.
I
have so many questions.
I know you do. And I can't wait for some of them to be answered.
Well, this is how I feel with the My Hero Academia stuff. Like, your wife will send me messages, and I'm like, I know what's happening.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you.
Yeah, of course.
So,
of
yeah,
course.
we're in the same spot in different animes.
That's fine.
It's kind of fun.
It's
kind of fun to be on the knowing side for once. Because usually I'm just the one in the dark.
That's true. Because like for Hunter x Hunter, Hope and I had already seen it. I had seen it. That was my third time watching Hunter x Hunter, so I like knew everything that was going to happen.
Right.
So, yeah, this is the one where we get to be the you get to watch us for our reactions instead of the other way around. So
yeah, unfortunately, it hasn't worked out for us to watch the newest episodes of My Hero together.
Yeah, it's hard to do when it's being released weekly because of scheduling, but for Attack on Titan, at least, it's easy because it's bingeable because it's all up there, except for part 2 of season 4, which is coming out in the winter. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. So for what I've been playing, I have still been playing some Skyrim, although there was a like game-breaking glitch that really frustrated me and made me rage quit. So we'll see how long it is until I get back at Skyrim. Well, it was like this big quest line. This like one of the really big, really popular quests in the game is the Thieves Guild, where you join the Thieves Guild, you do all this stuff, and like at the end of it, you get one of the best bows in the game. And I get to the end of, it's like the very last quest in the entire thing. And I get to the end and it's like, oh, talk to this person. But then I go to talk to them and they're like, part of the quest was escaping from a flooding cave and they were like with me. But then they're still like just underwater glitching out in the cave. And I can't talk to them while they're underwater. So, and no matter how many times...
That would be really frustrating.
How many times I went back to previous saves to do it over, it would still do it. So, and there's just no way to finish the quest. It's broken. So then I rage quit. And we'll see if I go back. That was one of those things where it's
That's
like,
fair.
oh, like my FOMO of like this is a bow that like all these other players have gotten to use, and now I can't because the game just decided no, and I'm mad. So
Yeah.
I quit.
Oh,
But that's
man.
okay because I have other games that I haven't played that I need to catch up on anyway. So it's fine. Still playing The One Ring, which we might be playing a session tomorrow. I sent a message out on the Discord thing because tomorrow is
good.
when we would normally play. I don't know if it'll work because one of the players was getting married and moving. The last session, so I don't know if they're still like getting settled or what, but we'll see. So tomorrow we might be playing more of the RPG that we've been playing, and that is it for me.
Nice.
So, yeah.
There are a couple like newsy things that I want to bring up briefly.
Okay.
One being that I don't think we've talked about how the Rohirrim is getting an anime style animated
you're right.
series.
I forgot about that.
Which is super
That's a Warner
exciting.
Brothers thing, right?
I think so. And I think one of the original writers for the Lord of the Rings movies is part of that. Philippa Boyens, maybe?
That sounds right. I think I've heard that name in association with that.
Yeah, which is really exciting. And then there was also was it a trailer or just a still dropped for the Amazon series?
Oh, it was just a
Lord of the Rings
still. A
Amazon
still got
series.
dropped for that, which
Yeah.
is totally Numenor. I mean, it has to be.
It has to be. Yeah.
It's Second Age. It has to be Numenor. But
Yeah. But that was exciting to see that image
yeah.
come out.
And that reminds me, there was a trailer for the Star Wars Visions thing. Is that what it was called? Where
Yes.
it's a bunch of different anime studios in Japan got to do some fun stuff with Star Wars and make their own anime style Star Wars stories. And there was a trailer for it, and I am so pumped. I'm so pumped.
I am too. I had no idea that's what that was going to be. I didn't watch any of the like Disney when Expo thing where they dropped all the information on the new like Marvel and Star Wars and other Disney projects. I just saw like the list after it was done, and I saw the Star Wars Visions and like a brief like description of it, but I didn't like comprehend what exactly it meant. And then once we saw the trailer, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. This is going to be amazing.
I'm so pumped.
It's going to be incredible.
Oh, like I watched it like 5 times in a row because I was so excited.
I mean, the way that anime does magic systems anyway is so unique and so well tailored to Star Wars.
I mean, yeah, like there were...
It's like what Star Wars has deserved from the beginning.
Well, I mean, Star Wars was originally inspired by feudal Japan, and like the way that the lightsaber fights were originally was like kendo style, you know, both hands on the lightsaber.
That's true.
So it's like it was meant to be from the beginning, and it's finally happening. And I know a lot of people in the comment section were like, "Oh, more lightsabers! Oh, never seen that before." But I'm like, dude, just shut up. This is. Let me like something. Let me look at my shiny swords and like it, because my shiny laser swords.
It's Star Wars.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want?
Well, it's because
I
people were talking about how well the Mandalorian did, and how, that was because it was kind of a, what's the word I'm looking for? It was like new and fresh. We hadn't gotten like an underworldy type of show for that. But I would like to point out that in some of the clips for the Star Wars Visions thing, we definitely see Slave One, and we definitely see what could be Boba Fett or someone in Mandalorian armor doing stuff. So I think that we're going to get more than just lightsabers. But I will take...
I don't know how you can possibly say that we don't have underworldy stuff when A New Hope starts in Tatooine.
I know.
Which is like...
It's whatever.
The seedy underbelly of the universe.
But I'm just saying, I think it's going to be really diverse. But I think that lightsaber footage is good trailer footage because it's flashy and high impact, and they're also showing off. I will take as many anime lightsabers as I can get. and we get some pretty awesome looking ones in the trailer. So
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yes.
I'm going to love it no matter what. You can call me like a biased fanboy, whatever. I don't care. It's going to be good. I can't wait.
Yeah. Do you know anything about the Witcher series? Is it a second? I know the second season is due to come out somewhat
There's a couple
soonish,
things.
but there's something else that I saw that didn't look like it was the second season. It was something new.
Right. There's season 2, which I think is done filming and is going to be coming out later this year, maybe around Halloween.
That's what I thought.
And there's also an animated series, which is a prequel to all of that.
Okay.
Which goes into kind of Geralt's mentor, like his backstory as a Witcher. Mm-hmm. I forget his name, which is sad because I played the game. Anyway, yeah, it's a prequel. But there was also an animated series for that, which I'm not sure when it's coming out, but I think a trailer dropped for it. Yeah. But yeah, there's quite a few.
Lots of things to look forward to.
I know, I'm really excited. Yeah. So that's all of, I think, the news things that we had. And now we get to move on.
I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah. Now we get to move on to the main topic, which
Yes.
we forgot to mention earlier what we were even talking about this episode. Our apologies.
Oh.
We are finally...
You'll have seen it in the title.
Yeah. I am finally going to be leading the discussion on the bard, William Shakespeare. Was he a man, a myth, or a legend? Did he actually write the plays that he said he wrote? Or was it all just a scam? Was it other writers? There's some people that think that Shakespeare wasn't even a real person. So, anyway, so let's dive in. So, just setting up context, I'm going to give a brief overview of some information that we have about Shakespeare, and this is all readily available online. Wikipedia is your best friend for this one. So, born in 1564 in Stratford-upon-Avon, Warwickshire, England.
I'm sorry. I want you to sing this like the Jeff Bezos song.
Born in 1564, William Shakespeare.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Playwright and entrepreneur, born in 1564. Yeah. Any birth year ending in 64 now.
Yes.
So yeah, born in England, 1564. His father and mother were illiterate and not really a well-to-do family. His father made gloves for a living. He was the third of 8 children. Likely attended a local school called King's New School, which was established in 1553. Once he was 18, he married his then 26-year-old wife, named Anne Hathaway, who gave birth to their daughter Susanna 6 months after the ceremony. So,
wait, was that actually her name?
yeah, her name was Anne Hathaway.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know
I didn't
that.
either. I was like, oh, that was intentional. That had to have been intentional. Anne Hathaway's parents had to have named her that knowing. Who knows?
Or that's just her. You know how actors will pick a name
Oh, like maybe that's like her middle name or something?
to be put in the guild.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean like
Oh, I
when
see what you mean.
when you like enter the Actors Guild, sometimes you pick a name that's different from your given name. So I don't know. Maybe Anne Hathaway picked that name for that reason.
Whether it was her or her parents, I think it was definitely intentional. The wife of William Shakespeare.
It would be ironic if it was her given name and she just happened to become an actress.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, you can do the mental math yourself about how she had a kid 6 months after the ceremony, and also he was 18 and she was 26. I sent Hope a text today as I was looking up some of this stuff. It's like, so you're 26. How would you feel about marrying an 18-year-old? One of your high school Starbucks coworkers. Like, how would you feel about that? That is
Gross.
also totally a shotgun wedding. You know.
Oh yeah. Sorry, no shade to anyone that is a 26-year-old that married an 18-year-old. But also
Only a little.
A little shade.
No, there's a little shade there. I'm comfortable throwing some shade their way.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's really questionable timing.
26-year-old
but
marrying a teenager. Anyway, yeah, 6 months after the ceremony, gave birth to their daughter Susanna. 2 years later, and gave birth to twins, a son Hamnet and a daughter Judith. However, Hamnet tragically died of unknown causes at age 11. After the birth of the twins, there are very few records of Shakespeare's existence, and these are years that scholars refer to as Shakespeare's lost years, which is 1585 to 1592. There's a lot of speculation surrounding these lost years, from him possibly being a country schoolmaster or him starting his theatrical career in the streets of London while he was minding horses. Either way, though, we don't really know what he was up to in particular during that time, but we do know that at some point in there he started writing plays, and several of his plays had already hit the stages of London by 1592. And they were mostly comedies in the beginning. And then as his career developed more and more, we start to see him break out into more dramatic plays. And these were mostly tragedies and were considered among the greatest works in the English language now, which were works like Hamlet, Romeo and Juliet, Othello, King Lear, and Macbeth. The last plays that he wrote were considered tragicomedies. Shakespeare died on April 23rd, 1616, at the age of 52, after retiring and returning to his hometown at Stratford. He died within a month of signing his will, in which he describes himself as being in, quote, perfect health. It is unknown exactly how he died, but half a century after the fact, John Ward, the vicar of Stratford, wrote in his notebook that William Shakespeare, Drayton, and Ben Jonson had a merry meeting, and it seems drank too hard, for Shakespeare died of a fever there contracted. So he may have drank himself to death, but that's honestly still kind of speculation. Just because one dude wrote it in a notebook, we have no official record of anything as to why or how he died. So that is kind of a brief overview of the life of our Billy Shakespeare. So there is some doubt as to whether or not Shakespeare deserves the authorship credit of his plays. So why do you think that would be?
Why do I think there's doubt?
Yeah, I would just want to what you know. What do you know about this?
Well, based on like what the information you just gave, he came from an uneducated family, or at least an illiterate family. So having someone, not saying that you can't overcome your circumstances at all, but for the time that he was living in, it seems highly unlikely and improbable that someone without an educated background would become one of the world's most lauded playwrights, who's also been credited with the creation of more than half of our lexicon.
Yes, that is.
As English speakers.
That is precisely the reason why it is doubted. So these...
Although you could say that if someone who didn't know the language and didn't know how the language really worked would come up with new words, I suppose you could make that argument. If they didn't know that if there was a word already in existence for something, that they would just make something up.
That is true. That's a good point. So basically, the group of people that question Shakespeare's authorship are called anti-Stratfordians. And
because Stratford von Avon.
Yes, the place where he grew up. Basically, they're saying the meaning behind it is like someone with that kind of meager upbringing could not possibly have risen to the status that he achieved, like you said. Basically, they believe his upbringing, having illiterate parents, there is no paper trail or any kind of evidence whatsoever of any education at all. Although it's not as if school attendance records are readily available from the year 15 whatever, for anyone. So those are things that they point to as to why they question his authorship, just because of his background, mostly. And because of these doubts, over 80 authorship candidates have been proposed.
Oh my gosh. That's a lot.
The most popular, I will list the most popular contendants, those being Sir Francis Bacon, Edward de Vere.
I've heard of that one.
Edward de Vere,
Not heard of that
the
one.
17th Earl of Oxford, Christopher Marlowe, and Countess Mary Sidney Herbert are some of the most popular people suggested. I know zero about all of those, except for one because he comes up later. I will say this group, the Anti-Stratfordians, is small, although vocal, and most scholars seem to find these arguments to be very weak. Mostly because humble beginnings doesn't mean you can't be a genius in your field or overcome adversity. You know, if anything, that just kind of romanticizes his story and makes it even more epic. Also, for a lot of those suggested authors that they have, where they're trying to figure out who did write them, a lot of those authors don't have timelines that match up, and they would have had to have written plays while dead. So, I mean, maybe they could have written them before they died, but it's, it just doesn't really work.
Is part of the theory that there are multiple authors?
Yeah, there is
that wrote under the umbrella of Shakespeare.
Right, that's another branch of it where there's like a bunch of ghostwriters who didn't want to take the credit or responsibility for the work, and they all kind of collaborated. And William Shakespeare was a pseudonym for all of them. That is another theory as well. And so, as to why they, and another question as if this is true, why did they do it? Why didn't they just take credit for the plays? Well, I mean, Shakespeare's plays weren't, at the time, I want to say they probably weren't the most politically correct.
I would say that they were politically challenging.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
And they really did bring focus to some social commentary issues that would have been hot topics for the time.
Right. So it would have been a way for these people to speak on issues without having to actually speak on issues, or like have them branded as having these ideas and beliefs and thoughts about things. Also, one of the people that were listed was a woman, where, at the time, I mean, it would have been, even today, female authors use male pseudonym, author names to try to,
depending on their genre,
to try to have more of an edge with getting published and people buying their books. So it doesn't shock me that a female playwright would do the same thing back in the 1500s. But anyway, all that to say, there are ways that we can actually study the work and prove whether or not Shakespeare is actually original, or if it's written by someone else who is also an author, using a thing called stylometry. Do you know what stylometry is?
I don't know if I've heard that word before, but I'm guessing it's the study of meter and prose.
Yes, so it is invented by Vincenti Ludostowski. Sorry, bro, for butchering your name.
I think he'll forgive you.
So he invented this method to analyze different literature. So what it does is it basically, the theory is writers all have characteristics that help us identify them, from sentence length, vocabulary used, the arrangement of the words, and how often you use certain words. These are all things that help identify an author.
Totally.
You can test the works of other author candidates against these principal components of William Shakespeare's work. And that is what has been done by stylometrists. They tested Shakespeare's work against the other authors, and none of them were able to really match with his signature style a significant amount, which tells us that the bulk of his work was original and likely his own. So
right. Well, I was going to say, like, even when we talked about in our last Shakespeare episode how, like, there are certain elements that come up in every, like the concept of the fool runs through a lot of the plays, playing a similar role, behaving and speaking a certain way. So that makes sense to me that you'd be able to, like, figure out if something was true to an author's original body of work or not, using style and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah. So that's what they were able to do. I mean, there's some evidence using this method to suggest that he may have collaborated with other authors, based on certain things. For example, it seems that Shakespeare may have worked closely with the playwright Christopher Marlowe on Henry VI, parts 1 and 2. So that's just an example of where he may have collaborated, but it's also pretty widely known that he did in his later stuff, like the tragicomedies, that he did collaborate with other playwrights for a lot of those as well. So he's not like, I mean, he's open to collaborating with other people. So it doesn't surprise me that other people's things are going to sneak in. But for the bulk, everything is
right.
Using the stylometry. The bulk of it is all clearly Shakespeare.
Which, to be fair, it's pretty common for writers to work with other writers, whether that's just like discussing plot and structure or characters, or whether that's actually getting specific feedback.
Yeah. So like
that's, if you're going to criticize Shakespeare for that, then you need to criticize like most authors.
There's no such thing as original thought. So he workshopped.
Well,
so all this means is that he likely workshopped some of the play stuff with another playwright, and liked some of the things the other person said and incorporated them in. You know, that doesn't mean he doesn't deserve authorship.
Right, and the other thing with theater is that the whole other component is that it's made for the stage, and there are actual people performing as these characters, and so I don't think it would be outside the realm of possibility that the actors would have also given their input on certain things as things were going into production.
Sure. So, all in all, there is a group of people who still holds to the belief that Shakespeare is not the author of those plays, and I know that. Which one was it? The 17th Duke of Oxford. I think that's one that is popular, because in my research, I came across a T-shirt that could be purchased that said, what was it? It was really funny. The Earl, my mistake. So it was the Earl of Oxford. The T-shirt said, "If you mention the Earl of Oxford again, I will stab you in the face." So,
that's great.
So a lot of the Shakespeare fans or scholars that are knowledgeable they get very annoyed at these people who try to claim that their boy Willie Shake did not actually write any of this stuff. So
right, I personally am in the camp that I think that Shakespeare is a real person that wrote real things, but
yeah, I think that what this more represents is just that, well, in that time period, I mean, yes, there are written records of things from that time period, but not as much as today, obviously. Like, as far as his background, if he grew up in a poor household where he just went to the same school that every kid on the block went to, they didn't have any attendance records, of course.
If they even went to school.
Right, it's believed that he did, but they can't say for certain. But it seems the argument, just based off of his upbringing, that he couldn't have done the things that he did, just strikes me as so elitist and so just scummy. Like that, when I was diving into this, I was expecting there to be a better argument than that. Like, I was hoping that there was some kind of magic, like, silver bullet that was going to, like, send the House of Cards flying. Like,
no.
Like, there was...
If that were true, it would have already been busted.
Yeah, but it was just a oh, no. He grew up poor. There's no way, dirty poors, they can't do anything meaningful. They can't contribute to society in any meaningful way. It's like,
Which is so ironic because so much of Shakespeare's work is talking about classism.
yeah.
Like even just thinking about Romeo and Juliet. Like what a example of classism getting the better of people.
And then people try to use classism to completely separate him from his own creative genius. So, no, it's very ironic. Yeah, so I'm definitely, I mean, I went into it like still thinking that he wrote the stuff, but I was curious to learn more and to like go down the rabbit trail. But when I saw like that was it for why people doubted it, I was like, come on, guys, really? This is some like tinfoil hat, like Illuminati, whatever. But I will say that it also just kind of speaks to this is kind of the point I was trying to get to before I got sidetracked.
Sorry.
Oh, no, it's my fault. There's a lack of information, right? Of like what we know about him in that time period. He has all these lost years. And what humans tend to do with the unknown is they try to fill the blanks in. And usually what they try to fill the blank with is really outlandish or exaggerated, or you get into things like the moon landing's a hoax, and like
I have a great example of this for something like a small example of this. Can I share? Yeah. So my professor in college that taught Shakespeare, Dr. Thurber, who, if there are any Concordians watching, you know that he is a gem and should be protected at all costs. But he leads the study tours to London every winter, or at least he used to. I don't know if he's still doing it or not. And every year when people would come back from study tour, they would come back with all these rumors or theories, I should say, about what Dr. Thurber was doing while he wasn't with the students. Because in reality, what he would do is he would take us to a spot, and then we would go to the National History Museum. And while we were at the museum, he would go to the East End and get our tickets for the show we were going to that night. But we would be like, oh my gosh, Dr. Thurber's a spy. He's always got this briefcase, which he always carries. He always carries a briefcase, even when he's going to class. It's just his go-to item.
It's the nuclear codes.
Yeah, yes. We had all these theories. He's really a spy, or he's doing all these drops, or he's a government man.
He's seeing his English mistress.
Yes, he's got this other family, which he would never. He's like the most upstanding person I've ever met.
Yeah.
But yeah, and we all knew what he was actually doing, but it's funny how every year people would come back and be like, no, this weird thing happened. Dr. Thurber's doing this. And it's just funny.
But yeah, I mean, when people don't know what's happening, they fill in the blanks with what makes they don't
a good story.
They don't go with what is the most likely. They go with what is the most entertaining. Which is kind of, I feel like, what is happening with Shakespeare, because with the lack of information about his upbringing, I think people are just running with that, and they're like, it's just drama. People like drama, man. And these are all people that, and also they're all theater kids, so of course they like drama. So it's like, of course there has to be some kind of secret plot, or there has to be some plot twist, because these are all theater kids that are coming up with this stuff.
Right. And we were all English kids, like English major kids and literature nerds, coming up with this stuff for Dr. Thurber. So yeah, same thing.
So the math checks out.
What's gonna make the best story? And the best story is that it's not actually a kid from the slums.
Yeah.
That it's some other plot.
That he was used as a cover man for these other writers, rich and famous writers who, just didn't want to take the heat for their opinions. Yeah.
Right.
So that is in a nutshell the theory of the anti-Stratfordians, and how maybe Shakespeare didn't actually write any of those plays, even though it is the widely accepted belief that he did write the plays. in that, sometimes, creative geniuses come from the slums or the poor households, and that,
I would actually argue that most creatives, or a lot of creatives anyway, come from meager beginnings.
Yeah. The ones that spent their whole childhood with escapism, with books and TV shows, because they lived in...
I mean, same with Stephen King, Edgar Allan Poe, it's not...
Like
Jane Austen wasn't... She was the daughter of a poor man.
Yeah. I was like, why are we surprised? Why are we surprised that Shakespeare, one of the creative geniuses, wrote some of the greatest works of English ever, was poor. Van Gogh was poor. Starving artists, man. It's a real thing. So yeah, that's the whole theory about Shakespeare not writing his plays. Do you have any other questions about it?
No, I am really impressed by the amount of detail and research you did.
Thank you.
So thank you.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun diving down the rabbit trail.
I enjoyed it. See, you could have been an English major.
Sure. Yeah, so that was our, just to wrap up, that was our discussion on Shakespeare, whether or not his authorship of his plays is deserved, as well as some other things that we touched on. It's an exciting time to be a nerd with all the new stuff that's going to be coming out soon. And I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about our reactions to all of it on the podcast as well. So yeah, lots to look forward to. So until next time, not sure what we're going to talk about, but it's your turn. So you get to figure it out. So go read something cool.
And we'll talk at you next time.
Bye.